Happy Sunday, everybody. Every Sunday, I like to go over my off-meta picks of the week. These are all decks that made it to Mythic and caught my interest because they had a particularly high win rate. So, off-meta for me is anything that is not mono-white humans, mono-red prowess, Boros Convoke, Mono-Red Aggro, Azorius Control, mono-black skeletons, mono-black aggro, Golgari midrange, 4-color Reanimator, Orsov Life Gain, or Rakdos Aggro. And with a little bit of an exception. And the exception being if the deck is doing something that is enough different than what I've been seeing before in the archetype. So we're going to start things off here with the Rakdos Aggro deck by Mr. Mr. Biddle. And they were able to hit Mythic number 276 here early on in the season, and had a 32-19 with a 63% win rate. So pretty decent. And so this is very similar to the list that I was running in the 50-match summary, but we do see some new inclusions. So we're running the Dreadmaw's Ire, as well as the Ancestral Anger, and the Felonious Rage. So just even more combat tricks. And we've still got the Cacophony Scamp with the Callous Sellsword, which is kind of the core of the deck, allowing you to deal 3 times the power of the Cacophony Scamp's damage if it gets through unblocked. So it deals its damage, then you sacrifice it with Sellswords burned together, and then, because whenever it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target, if you can get this to B7 power, you can deal 21 damage in one blow. So it's very, this is definitely built around with a turn 3 in mind. And when I ran the one that was running the prowess, the fugitive codebreakers and the picnic ruiners, I was able to get 3 turn 3 wins in 50 matches. So it's not like it's that inconsistent. And this one is deciding to bring in the Slickshot Show-Off and lean even more heavily into the prowess build. So this was the one that we got in Outlaws of Thunder Junction and gets +2/+0 whenever you cast a non-creature spell. And then we've got the Monastery Swift Spear, kind of your classic build. And then we're running the 4 copies of the Black Cleave Cliffs, which is the Rakdos Fastland. And just really, I'm really curious to see how this one compares to the one that I ran already that had the Picnic Ruiners, because I do think that it's just an improvement to bringing in the Slickshot Show-Off. So that's going to be my number 1 meta breaker for this week. And next up, we've got Mono Blue Tempo by Shirt Brothers. And they were able to hit Mythic number 422 with this list. They went 39-14 with an impressive 74% win rate. And this one, we've covered this one before. So this one is a classic budget list. The only rare in the list is Otawara, Soaring City, and you can replace it with an island. And deciding to bring in 2 roadside reliquaries. Sometimes this gets cut, sometimes it gets included. But being able to draw off of your artifacts, and there are some enchantments with the Zoetic Glyph. So the whole point of this is playing something early, Spyglass Siren, Network Disruptor, Ginger Brute, and then being able to ninjutsu it in with the Moon Circuit Hacker or the Prosperous Thief on turn 2. Either way, you get to replay your stuff that then creates more artifacts that you can then animate into 5/4. 5/4s with the Zoetic Glyph. You can make the high-speed hover bike into a creature, but it also is just good interaction. Fading Hope to bounce, Machine over Matter to bounce. You can make the Ginger Brute into a 5/4 and then make it so that it can't be blocked except for by creatures with haste. This is definitely like the number one deck that I point people to who are new to Magic the Gathering on Arena, because of not requiring any wild cards, rare wild cards or mythic wild cards. And it's very well positioned in the meta. I've seen several people. So the Shirt Brothers was the one that I grabbed this list from, but I've seen several people who were able to get an early mythic position with a budget deck, which is fantastic. Oh, and then we also have Unctus's Retrofitter, which can kind of do the same thing as the Zoetic Glyph to animate an artifact. So definitely want to rerun this one again. I tried to run it every set just to make sure that it is still a good budget option, and I'm not recommending a dud. Number 3 is Bant Control by One Punch God, and they hit Mythic 218 with a 72-40, so a much larger sample size than the other two, and was rocking a 64% win rate. And this one's got a lot of different things to go into here. So, because the shell is basically Azorius Control, and then bringing in green. And to give us some advantage, like Doppelgang is a pretty good win condition. We've got 2 copies of the Ancient Cornucopia, which allows us to ramp as well as gaining life every time that we cast a spell that's 1 or more colors. So it can kind of help us stabilize against mono-red. We've got Endless Detour, which is an instant where the owner of target spell, non-land permanent, or card in a graveyard puts it on top or bottom of their library. So being able to bounce, and the fact that you can hit something that they're casting as well, kind of giving you a counterspell-esque vibe. But notably, it does hit something that's being protected by the Cavern of Souls. Then we've also got the Ontman Path Journey, which is one that we got as a special guest in the Outlaws of Thunder Junction. And when it enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 5 land cards that have different names, exile them, then shuffle. At the beginning of your instep, choose a card at random exiled with Ontman Path Journey and put it onto the battlefield tapped. So giving us a good ramp over time, especially notable. Look at how many different lands this list is running. Like it just keeps going. Oh, and then we got 1 Titania's Command, which is a win condition. You can choose 2 of 4 different options. Exile your target player's graveyard and gain 1 life for each card exiled this way. Good against team or control. Then we've got search your library for up to 2 lands, put them onto the battlefield tapped, so some ramp. We can create 2/2/2 green bear creature tokens, or we can put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature that we control. So some nice versatility there as a one of, and then, yeah, like I mentioned, the rest of it is kind of your classic Azorius Control. So we've got 3 Steps Ahead, which is the new counterspell from Outlaws of Thunder Junction, March of the Otherworldly Light, Get Lost, Soul Partition, Deduce, No More Lies, Silver Scrutiny, Temporary Lockdown, Wandering Emperor, Memory Deluge, 1 Teferi who slows the sunset, and Sunfall, and Invasion of Arcavios, which is one that we've seen kind of come and go in some lists, where it allows you to grab a spell from outside of the game, so the sideboard is actually kind of important to have in this case, even in best of 1. And then you get a battle that if you decide to deal the 7 damage to, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, you may copy that spell and choose new targets for that copy. But we're able to then grab something like Farewell, White Sun's Twilight, Titania's Command, Outrageous Robbery, whatever win condition we're needing for that specific moment, duress against other control matchups, and then Silver Scrutiny for some additional dig. So I think this one is kind of a very involved deck that I probably will not do justice for the 50 match summary, but I definitely want to give it a shot if that's what you guys want to see. And the 4th and last list for the meta breakers this week is going to be another mono black skeletons build. So yesterday I did my 50 match summary on one that was running the Lost Jite, and this one is running more of a little bit more of a typical skeletons build, although it is very budget. So we've got like Ashnod's Harvester to be able to attack the graveyard as well as give us some unearth. We've got the Cult Conscript, which ups the amount of skeletons. So we've also got the Forsaken Miner, notably not running the Tiny Bones Pickpocket, and I think just to keep the costs down. We've got 3 copies of Cut Down. We've got the Okiba Reckoner Raid, which gains us 2 life over time and gives us a 2/2 menace, so a lot of value for just 1 black. We've got Bitter Triumph for some removal. We've got 3 copies of Case of the Stashed Skeleton to kind of give us that Forsaken Miner vibe, just very aggressive. Deep Cavern Bat for a little bit of interaction. Life of Toshiro to either give creatures -1/-1 targeting against like Boros Convoke. Otherwise, we can use this to gain life against mono-red, or to hit more damage if we're trying to pressure our opponent. And then we've got Servant of the Stinger, which if we've committed a crime, we can then use this to go tutor for a specific card. And we can also just keep it as a 1/3 Death Toucher. And then we've got Corpses of the Lost to give all of our skeletons +1/+0 and haste. And then every time that we are descending, so if something goes to the graveyard, then we can pay 1 life and return the Corpse of the Lost to its owner's hand, making it a pretty good option against the control on the ladder. Then we've got 2 copies of the Sandstorm Verge to trigger triggering a crime and making it so that our opponent can't block. And I think I forgot to mention, but this one was by Frantic Beagle, and they hit Mythic number 380 with a 50 and 30 for a 63% win rate. So every week I take one of these meta breakers and I run in them for 50 matches the following Saturday. So remember to place your vote here on the community tab, and let me know which ones you want to see tested out on the Best of One ladder. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll catch you all next week for another meta breaker.